Hello darlings and darlets, how are you? Today I'm talking about what's coming, the energies that are on the way and what the emissaries say we've got to prepare for. I'll tell you all about it on the other side. So whilst I was having a chat with the guys and gals upstairs, I said to them, so where are we? What kind of work are you doing at the moment? And they said, we are working very, very hard. That's what they said. But they said it in a nice way, like they were happy. They weren't complaining. Because they said that there are vast changes in the energetic landscape right now. Okay, and I said, ooh, what vast changes in the energetic landscape are there? I said to them, curiously. They replied, what's happening right now is that we're going through a period of unification, uniting. People are starting to unite. And boy, can you see it. And how do we see it? Well, we see it through people taking to the streets, right? With a common theme, a common goal. Now, what's happening at the moment is here in Spain, for example, all over the shant, all over the shop, people are going to the street to complain about bad stuff that's happening, done by people who shouldn't be here, if you follow my drift. People who are here and absolutely making an absolute mess. Let me tell you, that is not everybody. Not all of them. I'm not talking about all of them. There's been an integration of people from Muslim countries for years. No problem at all. However, for the last 4 years or 5 years or whatever, there's been this endless stream of young 18, 19, 20-year-olds coming in with no skills, with no desire to work, and they are making a mess. And it's not just a mess that they're making. They are doing damage to people, like on purpose, gratuitous beatings, things like that. Well, people are fed up with it. And they're uniting and they're coming to the streets. What is the message? Well, the message that comes from our beloved government here in Spain, just as it comes from all beloved governments, and we do love them, don't we? They do such a good job, don't they? The message is that the people who go to the street to complain are far, far extreme, ultra right. Okay? So when you see the people there, and there's elderly ladies, elderly gentlemen, parents with kids or whatever, they are all, and you must get this clear in your mind, they are all far right. Okay? Anybody who complains about what the government's doing is far right. Very important. Okay? However, people are uniting, and all of us are being shifted over to that side. And I think back to the years when I didn't give a fuck about politics. I really didn't. All my life. I never voted. I've never been interested. Why? Because they did their thing and they left me the fuck alone. But now they don't. Now they do the thing, and it deeply affects me and the future of my children, and it deeply affects my life. And that's what I don't like. That's why I have to be interested. Do I really want to be interested in what the politicians are doing? No, they're a corrupt bunch of bastards. However, I've got to pay attention now. They've got my attention because I've got to keep my family safe. So that's the only reason that I talk about these things. It isn't because they're deserved of conversation. It isn't that they merit having one word used to describe them. They don't deserve it. However, there you are. It's got to be done. So that's what's happening in Spain. Interestingly enough, it seems to be happening in Germany, in Ireland, in the UK, all over, in Portugal, all over. People complaining bitterly and taking to the streets, uniting. Okay, so they said this was always going to be the case, that people are going to come together. This is part of the Great Awakening, that people come together. which is lovely, which is great. And what the emissary said was something interesting. They said, the baddies, and you know, the longer that I do this and we talk, and the emissaries have always called them the baddies, just to take the sting out of it, you know, the baddies, and we're the goodies. The more that I use that term, the more that I realise that the baddies are not necessarily beings that are tangible here on the earth. Many of them are, but the actual energy is not of this world, or certainly not of this kind of structure. Yeah, and the emissary said that the baddies always infiltrate all of these organisations, the politics or whatever. If you notice at the moment, the pushback that's being given to Israel is massive. Okay, the baddies infiltrate everything. They're there in everything. And what the emissary said is that when the going gets tough, when there's too much attention on that particular group, the baddies slip away. They come out and they just leave the group, like leave the shit to be sorted out by them. You know, you can just imagine, like, oh my God, we're on our own now. What about the backup? There is no backup. Yeah, what? But I thought you said that we were safe. There is no safe, you know. So that's kind of what the baddies do. They use an organisation to move their agenda, and if it gets too hot, they just come out and run away, leave it high and dry. And so I asked the emissary, so what will that unity do? How will unity, if we are going to start uniting, which is I see it happening, you know, uniting just of the same thought. I've always talked about this chunking up of, you know, get out of the murky details. It doesn't matter if the world's flat or round. It doesn't matter. We shouldn't be fighting about that. You know, all of these details. The main thing is there are a bunch of baddies, bastards, who are trying to cause us lots and lots of problems. Do you agree with that? Yes, that's it. We're united. So that's what this unity is about. And I said to them, so how will it help? And what they said is that, well, the whole theme of the baddies has been to set one group against another. That's how they have controlled us. And they said the reason that they like to do that, I mean, there's lots of reasons, but the main reason is that when we are fighting one another, that's who we're looking at. We're looking at the enemy. We're looking at them, they're looking at us, and we're not looking anywhere else. And they said what happens is when we unite, we stop looking at one another as the enemy, and we start looking at the true enemy, the true baddies. They said that the thing that the baddies fear the most is to be scrutinised. They don't like to be scrutinised, hence the fact that we're talking about them. If a group starts getting scrutinised too much, they pull away. They come all the way from it and just leave it. And that's what's happening. The baddies are going to start to be scrutinised by us, and they don't like that. And that's going to cause them, that's what's going to be their downfall, that we see them. How could we have seen them before when we were too busy fighting black against white, Christian against Muslim, a man against woman? It doesn't really matter. Fill in the blank. How could we see them? We couldn't. We were too busy focusing on the enemy. Now, we're going to focus on them. So, interesting times, fascinating times. You know, the little boy that was shouting that the emperor's got no clothes, well, that little boy is now many, all saying, but look, this is what they hate. This is when the hypnosis fails. The curtain drops. And suddenly everybody sees the reality. And the reality is that it's patently obvious. It's very obvious. But it's only obvious when the hypnosis falls. And so the more of us that are pointing saying, look, look, the more shit their life's going to be. And I think they deserve a bit of a shit life now. They've got a shit life. Trust me, there's no fun in what they do, but it's going to get shittier. And ours is going to get better. There you are. I love you all, and I'll speak to you all later. Bye-bye.